Well, hello and welcome to the Overdrive Digital Show. Sohini is missing from the action today, but I'm right here. Bert's going to join us in a little while from now. And we also have a very special guest joining us today. But before that happens, let us show you what we were doing last week. We were driving the all-new EQC, the first electric vehicle from Mercedes-Benz, and it has now landed in India. We managed to get our hands on it. We drove it for more than 12 hours to be precise, and we returned impressed. But let me stop talking and let me continue talking with the review that I've done. Take a look at the review that we just posted this morning.
At the 2018 Auto Expo, we were presented with the EQC concept, which essentially established this sophisticated design that the EQ range from Mercedes-Benz were set to follow. It also established the fact that the EQ is the electrified range of variants at Mercedes-Benz. And this EQC is first of many to come. For starters, it attracts plenty of attention on the road, so it's easily one of the most exclusive Mercedes-Benz cars in the brand's portfolio right now. And the big star on the grille will instantly make it recognizable as a Mercedes-Benz. The large size of the headlamp assembly or the stacked up arrangement of the lighting elements, its interplay with the grille, that big black applique connecting the two headlamps, all of this might look a bit quirky on the face of this car, but it achieves one very important goal. It helps the EQC fit in with the rest of the cars while also making it stand out without looking too outlandish. The daytime running lamps that run across the length of the grille may seem overdone to some, but they complement a similar layout and design that you see for the tail lights. The sleek lighting elements at the rear look quite classy and prevent the hatch from appearing too bulbous. But a rounded off design typical to all new cars from Mercedes-Benz is seen on the EQC too. Now for the EQC, you could choose a white, a dark grey or this light grey that you see here. No flashy colors for this car, which is a bit of a downer, so you can always have the EQC only in an elegant color. But if you want to make a more green statement to the onlookers, you can always choose these 20-inch alloys in this snowflake design, but with these blue accents to show the world that you've got yourself an electrified vehicle. There's a fairly good knee room and excellent foot space. Also, you don't sit too high up despite the batteries in the floor. Even the headroom is quite good. It's nicely scooped out in the roof, so there is a sense of airiness in here. Of course, you don't get a panoramic roof, so that's a bit of a downer, and all the upholstery is dark in color, but you still feel nice and airy in here. You also get a nice big large aperture for the windows. Visibility outside of the windows is quite nice too. You also get a 3-zone climate control at the rear, so it adds to the comfort in the rear seat. And talking of comfort, well, I like the seats. I like the angle of the backrest. I like the posture that it gives you. The cushioning, slightly on the firmer side, but I love this upholstery. I think it looks quite nice and feels quite nice to the touch as well. So in terms of the rear seat experience, this is very much like the GLC, but things are very different at the front. It's very unlikely that the EQC will be the first Mercedes-Benz for any of the owners, and will ideally be the second or the third three-pointed star in the garage. Such buyers will see a lot of familiar equipment and hardware inside the cabin. This flowing tunnel console is something that we love with Mercedes-Benz cars, and that continues with the EQC as well. However, you get a slightly different design, rather significantly different design for the AC vents. You don't get those circular vents which are now common on most new Mercedes-Benz cars. You get a completely different design for these. They also get this bronze treatment. It's a treatment that is similar to the stitching that you see here or the piping that you see all around. It nicely complements this denim blue trimming that you see all inside the cabin. I think it looks quite nice, looks quite fresh. There's a vibe of sustainable materials in here without compromising at all on the premium touch, feel and look of this car. What further differentiates the cabin of the EQC from the GLC is the layout of the dashboard, more particularly the layout of the infotainment and the instrumentation. You get this twin screen setup, something very similar to what we've seen on more premium cars from Mercedes-Benz, but this is smaller in size, of course. And also the housing that is used for it is very similar to what we've seen on the new GLS, so that's another plus point on the premium factor. Now the MBUX infotainment system, we've already been impressed by it, we love it, but in this car you also get this new EQ menu, of course for the EQC, where you get different EQ specific menus and functions like the charging options. It will give you the consumption. It will also show you this energy flow on this really cool animation, so you can see which of the motors is working. If both the motors are working, it will also tell you the status of the battery, if power is being drawn from it or is being fed back into it, and it's a nice cool animation. So this is again something that comes in handy when you want to plan things, how you want to drive, when you want to charge, all those things. At the same time, the Hey Mercedes digital assistant,
How may I help you?
always attentive, well, nothing for now, thank you so much. But what it can also do for you in the EQC is help you find charging stations, so that again helps with the planability. Likewise, the Mercedes Me app gets more connected functions over and above the GLC, telling you the charge status, for example, and helping planability. While it also benefits from other functions like geofencing, vehicle tracking, and the valet mode that we recently saw on a similarly priced GLS. It comes to life in a typical electric manner. No sound, it only tells you here the vehicle is ready to drive. You get the same kind of gear selector that you get on most other Mercedes-Benz cars, so that's not a new learning curve either. Push the lever into drive and you set off in a nice and silent manner. Like
Well,
most
so
TVs,
that's
the loudest thing inside the cabin is the AC vents. Now, Mercedes-Benz tells us that in normal driving conditions, when you're driving on tarmac where you don't have a lot of rolling sound of the tires coming in like you would get on concrete surfaces, the cabin would be between 64 to 68 decibels. And that's very silent, that's spookishly silent. Blame the low ground clearance on the liquid-cooled high-voltage battery pack. It is of 80 kilowatt capacity and is made up of 384 lithium-ion cells in parallel and series connection. Mercedes-Benz provides a basic charger with the EQC as standard, and before you buy the EQC, a team will physically visit your premises to check compatibility for a compact wall-mounted medium-pace charger. The public fast chargers will fill up these batteries in about 21 minutes. The EQC places asynchronous motors on the front and the rear axle for a twin motor setup capable of an electric all-wheel drive and an output of 408 PS and 700 Newton meters. There's these paddle shifters that control the various levels of recuperation that this EQC has to offer. So you have the auto or the D mode, where it feels very natural. It feels like the natural engine braking of a petrol or a diesel GLC, to put into comparison. And then you have the D minus or the D minus minus modes. So both are essentially giving you a sharper deceleration, sharper engine braking in that sense. So it is ideally suited for winding roads. Let me come to that in a bit. You also have the D plus mode, which is like a gliding or a coasting mode. Now, once you understand how to use these modes to your advantage, you will be able to drive this car in a single pedal operation, and that will help you maximize efficiency. Let me give you an example. If you are on the highway, you're better off in the D plus mode, where you are coasting and gliding. There is enough motivation from the powertrain to keep you going, and you're essentially controlling the power, you're essentially controlling the acceleration, you're essentially controlling the glide with the brake pedal. But if you're on a downhill winding road, then depending on how comfortable you are with the sharpness of the deceleration, you could choose between D minus and D minus minus. And when you do that, you will then be controlling the power, the speed, and the overall velocity of the vehicle purely using the accelerator pedal, because the moment you go off it or start reducing the accelerator input, there is that sharp deceleration force that you will face. So then this is what the whole single pedal operation is what I'm talking about. Once you understand which mode to use to your advantage, you will be able to maximize the range on this. As seems to be the norm now, Mercedes-Benz too is offering an 8-year warranty on the battery pack. That's peace of mind. Furthermore, they are also giving you the residual value of the car at the time of purchase, which essentially means that if you sign up for it, they will sort of give you a guarantee on the resale value of the car, which means that you only have to finance the remainder of the amount, and that should make buying the EQC a lot more accessible and easier. There's no doubt that despite being the most important chapter for Mercedes-Benz since 1886, the EQC is still a very conservative step into the EV space. But it strikes the right balance between sustainability and class. And at the moment, it is the most luxurious electric car that you can put your money on.
So welcome back. That was the EQC. Like I said, we were driving it all of last week. In fact, not all of last week, but for 12 hours we drove the car in all sorts of conditions. And by the time I returned the vehicle, it still had a lot of battery still remaining, 35% battery still remaining to be precise. And the full review is also up on YouTube. So in case you missed or in case you just joined in, do check out the OD Mac channel on YouTube and you will be able to catch the full review there as well. So that's all that we had from the EQC for now. But we also have Mr. Santosh Iyer joining us from Mercedes-Benz. We also have Bert with us here today, and we are going to, in fact, have a chat with Mercedes-Benz India on when the launch is going to happen for this car and understand a few more things about the EQC from him. So there, right there is Mr. Santosh Iyer. Santosh, welcome to the Overdrive Digital Show. I see that you've got yourself an excellent frame there with a beautiful car in the backdrop. So sad it's not the EQC because I'm sure our viewers have certainly not got enough of the EQC right now. So when do we see that EQC in the showrooms though? Because I believe you are at one of the Mercedes-Benz showrooms and that's the reason why you have that car parked right there. So when does the EQC hit the showroom, Santosh?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, this is my first visit to a showroom. COVID today I decided I will do show visits and incidentally typing along with the great to be here. EQC, unfortunately, we are keep it here because the cars were on the leaves and also it's going to different locations right now. But yes, somewhere in October, I would say by mid of October, we should get the EQC to India. We would launch it. But unlike many other cars, typical launches where we start a booking and then we launch, we are not opening bookings for EQC because we want customers to experience it. It's something different. Your the review was perfect in terms of taking and giving how good it was to drive this at a very different experience. So I would say that's the reason we want customers to experience first and then do the booking. So it should start somewhere mid of October.
Okay, great. Santosh, before I come back to the deliveries and talk more about when the launch is going to happen, let me sort of go back to the day we drove the car. You gave us a presentation on the car, and I remember you telling us very categorically that the commitment from Mercedes-Benz India towards electrification is not going to be only restricted to the EQC. It's obviously the first of many steps to come. But it's not only the products, is what you were clearly hinting at. So could you shed a little more light on what you meant exactly when you said that the commitment is going to be more than just the products that you launch in the market?
So from a Daimler perspective, we have this promise. You know, we say ambition 2039, and when we say ambition 2039, this means 100% carbon neutral vehicles on the road, and this means not only the tailpipe, but also when you look at product, you look at recyclability, recoverability, everything will be taken. But for many of us, when we look at 2039, it's a dream. But just to break this down, we are committed worldwide. Around 50% of our sales will be electric by 2030. We want to come a bit more earlier by 2025. We see 25% of our sales to be completely powered by alternate fuels or electric PHEVs. So that's and to add to that, we are also looking at our vehicles in our portfolio fully electric by 2022. So we are accelerating quite fast. And when you look at India, our production facility in India by next year, we will be 100%. The energy used in our plants, for example, will be 100% from recyclable and renewable sources. So our commitment goes beyond tailpipe emissions. It goes sustainability as a holistic view. And even at EQC, for example, is 95% recyclable, 85% recoverable. That's a level when it comes to sustainability we have got. It's beyond just emissions. It's also the way we produce the car, the way we will also recycle this car after end. So that's the full overview when it comes to sustainability or our commitment also to the
Right.
Santosh, I
And
noticed you've got the EQC, you got the EQC shirt on, and I'm assuming you guys are preparing for the EQC to come into the showrooms right there, and that's what you guys are up to right now, is it?
No, that's a good guess, I would say. But yeah, it's more weekend. I just am a bit more casual than the usual wear. And of course, EQC is the buzzword right now in our dealerships. You know, we have started today cascading many of the stuff there. So the showrooms are getting prepared. So for sure, that's the current buzz right now in our Mercedes-Benz India and our dealer partners. So the T-shirt just goes up with it.
Very nice. There's a lot of questions coming up on our chat boxes as well, and some of them, of course, have to do with the infrastructure that will be put into place for not just the EQC, but for the large number of EVs that are coming out of the market alongside Mercedes-Benz. You've also got the Tata Nexon EV, all at various segments. However, Mercedes-Benz is the first manufacturer to play, in that luxury segment to offer a electric SUV in the luxury segment, which is a big thing, which is a big statement. What is the expectation from this SUV, and especially an electric SUV at this point in time for Mercedes-Benz?
So to start with, this is a CBU. So we are not doing local production of this car because worldwide there is no CKD production available for an EQC as a product. So this will be a CBU, which also means price point will be somewhere in the region of 1 crore of rupees. So the customers who will be buying the EQC will be mostly early adopters, current customers of Mercedes-Benz, and also consumers who are looking at sustainable mobility for themselves. We had a couple of use cases. They wanted their kids to be going to school only in such a car because they want to set an example. So we have different types of customers now asking for an EQC. In terms of sales potential, our current challenge is to get the CBUs in because the demand we see is much more than what we could supply, and that's why in order not to cause dissonance was another angle of not opening a booking and taking a lot of customer orders and we are not able to fulfill. The EQC also does extremely well in Germany, for example, and in Europe. So, of course, the moment we launch in India, we would like to give as much as possible, but we look at clear, good 3-digit numbers when we look at sales volume for an EQC.
Which is very promising for a vehicle in that segment, and that kind of an offering as well. I think that's very promising to have triple-digit sales numbers. Should be a very promising sign for the market in general as well, going ahead in the future. I had a couple of other questions coming up from some of the viewers as well, and it's essentially infrastructure challenges, and a lot of them are how do you use an EV for long distances, an SUV for that matter. How do you travel long distancing? I think this is more to do with early adoption at this point in time. Get people to accept the technology. I believe it will be to understand what it is capable of doing, and then once the infrastructure comes up in place, I guess there will be more opportunities opening up. Am I right in saying so?
Yeah, actually, infrastructure has been touted as a big disabler for EVs, but in our case, we don't think so because this car, the EQC, and I think Rohit mentioned in his review, it still had charge left after going all the way to. So basically, 450 kilometers of range, approximately. If you look at a use case in Bombay or maybe in a Delhi, you can commute to work in any traffic condition for 4 to 5 days, basically, and then just charge it overnight. Next day morning, you go back to work, it's fully charged. So it's just no fuel station visits, no hassle. On the other side, therefore I think for intra-city it's a no-brainer because an EV works perfectly well, no visits to the fuel station. Now let's look at intercity. That means if somebody has to go Bombay, Goa, or a Delhi, Jaipur kind of a circuit. Here, of course, many of our customers we feel will have multiple cars, but still if somebody decides to go with an EV, we will have charging stations, we will have charging points, our network, and also certain other initiatives along with, of course, we are cooperating with all the public charging infrastructure. So our cars can be charged at any of the charging stations also because they are universal in nature. We have tried it in India, in Delhi, in Bombay, basically in the different public charging outlets. Also it has been tried. But for intra-city, I think this is very good because there is no hassle of visiting a fuel pump, and also it's only once in 4 days you need to just plug it in and get it charged. So infrastructure we don't feel will be a disabler. And the second step to that is before we even sell a car, we will have a team coming to the residence or to the office of our customer. They will do a full due diligence. They will also install the wall box, and that's a complete responsibility and a package. We just don't want to sell a car. We want to give the complete package to the customer when we introduce the EQC.
Right, Santosh, depending on how the demand is it possible for the EQC to be locally assembled if the need be?
No, as I said, EQC has not been designed, as for an assembled car because for an organization to be ready with battery production, etc., there are different requirements and prerequisites. So the EQC has not been designed currently, and therefore we don't see a CKD coming. But the advantage of the current government taxes is the ex-showroom price will become the on-road price because in many of the states, for example, Delhi, Bombay or even I think Bangalore and many of these states, even Hyderabad, there is no road tax. So basically, there is a 20% advantage when you look at it, and plus, I think it has its preferential GST, etc. So I think it's a very good offering when it comes as a package for customers. When you look at the on-road price of the car and not just the ex-showroom price of the car. So right now, though we would love it, but we have no immediate plans for any localization of our electric car.
Okay.
Santosh,
And
sorry, Rohit, yeah, Santosh, there are lots of benefits that have been asked for, from the central government side, the state government as well, to EVs, all these will be passed on eventually to customers as well. So, making or other owning an EV is going to be a far more affordable proposition for the consumer at the end of the day. Also, we keep in mind that an EV has got lesser service cost, so ownership cost over a period of time are also considerably, significantly lesser than an internal combustion engine car for that matter. But having said that, is Mercedes-Benz opening up certain options for consumers to buy into an EV, into the EQC for that matter? Subscription, or is it outright, or what kind of plans have you got in place for this?
So firstly, to mitigate the cost of ownership concerns, we already shared that this EQC will come with an 8-year battery cover. So, one of the biggest topics for customers is battery, because this is new, whether I will have to change. So we are very proactive. We will be giving an 8-year battery cover with every EQC. So that's something to take care of that. The second is, of course, we will also have programs like buybacks. We will have residual value guarantees on this car. So you don't have to worry after 3 years, 5 years of driving this electric car, you can just give it back to us and we will give you the next generation electric car. So such kind of models will be there. These are currently being worked with Daimler Financial Services, which is our financial service partner. And at the time of launch, you will see the full picture, including price, including the service offerings, including the stuff. But I think with our market research, we know the concerns and we will be able to handle or address all of these concerns when we introduce the EQC to India.
right, and Santosh, you said that the launch is about to happen very soon by October. The car should be at the dealership. Are you looking at a limited number that you will introduce with when the launch happens, or is it going to be as per the demand? Also, is there going to be a launch edition? Because this is something that we've seen with a lot of Mercedes-Benz cars where you have a launch edition with some special features that may not happen later. But now that CKD is out of the question for this, is there still going to be a launch edition for this car as well in India?
So if you see in January this year, we showed the 1886 edition, which was nothing but the launch edition kind of a car for EQC worldwide. And and if you see the configuration of this current car that you drove and the 1886, it's exactly the same. There are one or two small elements which has gone up, but I would say otherwise everything. So we have tried to give. We don't want to give a low spec car an entry variant. None of that sort. The EQC will be fully loaded with the features that you given with the car that you have seen. So there will be no, so from a price, there's just one variant. Secondly, in terms of availability, we have forecasted a certain demand. With the initial, euphemism, what we see right now with our dealer network, with the customer demand, we feel there will be scope only for more, not less. But I think our issue is availability on these cars, and we will be a bit constrained at least for the next 6 to 8 months time till we get more supplies. So the way we read the market, I think the demand should be more than supply than the other way around. So we are pushing also our colleagues in headquarters to get us more allocation and get us more cars. But the COVID has affected a supply situation worldwide. The battery production is a different ballgame altogether. So, but we will try our best to see if we can catch up with the demand to start with.
Right. Santosh, we are definitely looking forward for the launch. But parallelly, I need to ask you this question. The all-new S-Class broke cover this week. What are your thoughts about it?
Well, we are as excited as we could see, again, from a customer feedback or dealer feedback. I think S-Class has been the epitome, also leads the segment in India, worldwide, and more so in India. You have a set of, a very loyal customer base of S-Class. These customer base don't even wait for a test drive or for the car to come. We already have requested that why don't you take pre-bookings. But the fact remains the new S-Class sales starts may only happen by end of the year worldwide or by Jan. If I have to look at a CKD timeline, because we make S-Class and even MyBox in India, that takes another 6 to 7 months at least. So basically not before next year, August or second half of the year, we can see the new S-Class coming to India. But we also have the current S classes because that's something that we had planned, which also is currently on sale, which continues till that point of time, and then we do a transition to the new S class maybe in late next year.
Right. I remember you saying during the launch of the GLS, which was very recently, where you said that even when the new model was already shown globally, and we also drove it last year, and despite that, the GLS was still one of the best-selling models for Mercedes-Benz in India. And I think that kind of shows the kind of following that the GLS and of course also the S-Class has. And I'm expecting a similar kind of scenario for you to get into, even with a 1 year time to still to go for the new S-Class to arrive into India. I'm sure the current model is going to continue going strong. Well, I think those are all the questions that we had for you, Santosh. And I think
So,
Bert's saying something. I think Bert has
yes,
one more question.
one last question. Because what's the current state of affairs where radar frequencies are, the permissions are allowed in India for that matter? Because there's a lot of features that we're not unable to see. Some of them are really fantastic features, both in EQC, one of the ecosystem that we're not able to get because of the radar frequency permissions that are still granted by the government. And I'm assuming, yeah, this feature comes in, there will be certain features that we will not, be able to enjoy in the S-Class. So, what's the current state of affairs in that sector?
So there are two things. One is rightly mentioned the radar frequency topics. Here we have got a good headway with the government and with the Department of Telecom. There are certain frequencies which they have opened up, and we are able to get certain features in the car. On the other hand, you need infrastructure. For example, lane keeping assist, you need proper lane marking on the roads. You need highways where there are stuff. So if you want to really get a lane keeping assist to India, one is the radar of the car, and second is how the lanes are marked, and also the traffic discipline in our country. So these are all challenges. Our commitment is whichever feature can adapt to India, we are ready to get. For example, connected cars. I think we were again the first to get our cars connected. Not only the new cars, but even the existing cars. We are actually putting adapters in all our cars made after 2003. We are making them connected with the mobile app. So those commitments remain. But I think it will take. Let's be practical. For India, we see as an economy, the priorities are different. So it will take some time for the infrastructure to also keep up pace with some of those newer technologies that we see. But some of them are good. The new S-Class, you see many of the features, right, like rear airbags, the knee airbags. I think they are very relevant for India, and for sure this will all be part of the offering when we also look at the new cars that comes to India. But coming back to radar-based features, we are just mapping. One is the available, but I think the regulatory aspect has been taken care of to a large extent. It's more to do now with the infrastructure and whether it makes sense to get some of those radar features to India. So that maybe see how it goes.
All right, all right. Because we were quite excited because I remember earlier in the year, your team had called up and asked us, would you like to join us, for the drive of the S-Class. And we were so excited about it. The pandemic upset all of those plans. And then the reveal of the S-Class feature, we got level 3 autonomous technology on that, which is amazing. Not too many cars in the world have level 3 autonomous driving features, and that is just so brilliant. And I hope someday soon we can enjoy some of those features there as well. But yeah, thank you so much for answering our questions. Always a pleasure to talk to you and understand how and what Mercedes-Benz is up to. You guys will be having a very busy year ahead. All the best, and thanks once again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and stay safe. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, so that was Mr. Santosh Iyer. We just saw the review of the EQC. We had him talk about the EQC and when it's coming to India. And then we also mentioned the S-Class, which broke cover earlier this week. So without wasting further time, let's quickly take a look at what the new S-Class looks like. Here's a quick montage on what you can expect from the new S-Class when it comes to India next year. Well, I've got to admit, compared to the spy shots that leaked out last month, in fact, and where we looked at the S-Class, compared to that, what I see on the screen right now, I mean, it's a world of a difference. I think it looks much better than what we saw in the spy shots. And this is a car that I'm definitely waiting to try out because an S-Class is always, pushing the envelope when it comes to technology, safety systems, assistance systems, and it's a delight to just put all these systems to test. What do you say, Bert?
Well, Rohit, I mean, I was completely blown away seeing the S-Class and reading through that list of features that it has. Like I was talking about, level 3 autonomous technology is not too many cars in the world can boast of at this point in
True.
time. Very few. Probably just less than a handful of cars that have got level 3 autonomous technology, and to have that right now in a car of this order with this level of luxury, I mean, it's rare. I would like to see there are a lot more cars coming in sooner. But yeah, for decades, the S-Class has been the trendsetter, not just the benchmark. In fact, the trendsetter. It establishes the path, that other car makers will take, and that's a very big thing. So I think in that sense, the S-Class continues carry forward that legacy. It still has some of those features that are absolutely cutting edge. I mean, unbelievable stuff, especially with those light dynamics, the way those headlamps can project. What Mercedes-Benz is saying, the illumination is so bright, you can create a garage, you can create a movie theater in a garage, project movies onto the wall ahead. But
Yeah,
even the headlamp, I mean, you're throwing up warning signs on the road ahead of you as you drive. That's something so bloody cool. Even those
exactly.
pop-out door handles. I mean, who thought pop-out door handles would look so cool and so elegant? Though having said that, I mean that's an optional fitment. It's not a standard feature from what I've been reading. And there's just so much more. I think it is fantastic the way the S-Class has taken things forward. Having said that, I'm not a big fan of the way it continues to look or the way it looks. I think there is definitely something to be said about the styling. I think a lot of guys over here on the chat will also agree with me. Most of the viewers will agree with me that I think there is definitely something lacking where the styling is concerned. I wouldn't say lacking, but I think I was expecting to see something substantially different in the design language. But Mr. Wagner has not been very forthcoming, I would guess. With Rohit is smiling there. Well, not to be one of the fans, I guess, over here at this end of
No,
which
I mean,
style.
I mean, compared to the spy shots that we saw, this certainly looks better. But very frankly, I mean, I was expecting a lot more. I was expecting the S-Class to just, make me go wow once again, the way the current generation model did. And unfortunately, like you said, there is something that is definitely lacking. But that said, there is also going to be the electric S-Class, which has been confirmed. It will be revealed sometime in 2021 or early 2022 is what we hear right now. And it's expected to have a phenomenal real-world driving range of 1,000 kilometers. And that's massive. If you remember in the EQC review right now, I made a small mention to the EQS concept that was shown a little while ago, and that is essentially what will lend its design cues to the S-Class that will be electrified. So that's something definitely worth looking forward to. But now moving on with the news, in fact, electric still remains the flavor even for the news. We have the Skoda Enyaq iV that was shown in its concept form earlier this week. In fact, it will enter production almost the way it looks right now, and that is what has been creating headlines for Skoda. Now, this is the global debut, of course. Not a concept. Sorry, I'm taking back my words. This is essentially an electric vehicle that will be launched in as is format that you see on the screen, and there are obviously going to be multiple variants to choose from. Right at the base is going to be the Enyaq iV50 with a 55 kilowatt hour battery pack. There's going to be a rear mounted motor of 109 kilowatt capacity, and it's going to have a 340-kilometer driving range. And then there is the Enyaq iV60, which has a 390-kilometer driving range, and it's got a larger motor, 132 kilowatt capacity. The battery pack is going to be a 62 kilowatt hour battery pack. And then the third option gets an even bigger battery pack, an 82 kilowatt hour pack, which will be the Enyaq iV80. So this is going to be essentially for someone who is looking at long distance driving, because they're claiming a range of 500 kilometers. And even the motor is going to be the most powerful of this lineup at 150 kilowatt. And I'm also told that there is going to be an ENIAC IV RS. So that's going to be an exciting piece of news if this car manages to come to India. It's going to be produced in limited quantities, is what we hear so far. So I'm not sure if Skoda will bring it to India or not, but in the international markets, it will be out by 2021. And I really hope that to make a statement, Skoda will bring in, at least in limited quantities, the ENIAC IV to the Indian market. And then we have more news that is closer to India, which is essentially the, again, electrified news. We have the Tata Nexon EV and the Kona EV, both of which have received some excellent orders from the Energy Efficiency Services Limited, or the EESL. There are 150 units of the Nexon EV and 100 units of the Kona EV, which will be used to ferry the government officials in the country. But the combined order is essentially 250 units, and that makes a very strong statement for the adoption of EVs in India. The government is adopting a lot of these EVs for their own official use as well, and I think that's very good news. And since we are on the topic of the Kona here, Hyundai has also revealed the updated Kona in the international market. Now that is, of course, very different from the Kona that you're seeing on the screens here. It's got a very new headlamp design. The majority of the design remains the same, but the headlamp unit has been revised. That's of course for the ICE Kona, or the internal combustion engine Kona, that they've revealed the design for so far. But all these design updates we are expecting will also move to the Kona EV. That's the headlamp that I'm talking about, a new three-pot design, and I'm expecting that this design will also be adopted for the Kona EV. But to go with the EV design theme, of course, that big grille that you see on the updated Kona is not something that will come to the Kona EV. It will continue to have that no grill kind of a design that you see on the Kona EV in India. And alongside this, they've also teased the new Tucson. Now, if you remember, the Tucson was launched in the Indian market only a little while back in the updated avatar, but this is the all-new Tucson that Hyundai is now teasing in the international market. Expo in India, it draws heavily from that concept, and that's the new design going forward. And we've seen Hyundai now amp up the aggression big time on all their new vehicles, and that's something that is going to happen even with something like the Tucson. Why I'm saying even with something like the Tucson is because the Tucson that we've seen over the years has always had that very conservative styling, not going all out, not going too in your face. But now I think it's all going to change. Like the rest of the Hyundai designs, even this is going to have a very aggressive, very radical styling. So that's all that we have from the car news. I think let's move on to the motorcycle news because Bert seems to be having some technical issue with his internet, I think. So I'm not sure if he is able to join back in, but while he tries doing that, let's quickly just skim through the motorcycle news.
Back, but
oh, there, Bert
is my audio clear? Is that fine now?
Yeah, your audio is loud and clear, and so is your frame. So, Bert, you want to add something about the ENIAC IV that we spoke of from Skoda, the electric vehicle?
I'm quite excited. I like the styling most of all. It's this very soupy, very very gorgeous styling. Looks more estate-ish, from the tail end. But I like the lines, the way it flows towards the rear, all heading off, rather culminating in one single point. Very, very racy for that matter. But I also like the fact that the Skoda is claiming 340 kilometer range with its battery pack on this EV, which is more realistic. Is a realistic claim. I think that's quite doable. We've just driven the EQC a few days back, and the range on that was also about 320, 340 kilometers. I think that's what realistically you're going to be able to achieve. And coming back to the ENIAC, I think that's a fairly realistic claim for that matter. But yeah, I'm looking forward to driving this car. I think it'll be quite impressive. I'm not a big fan of EVs in general. I understand the need and the purpose that they're supposed to fulfill. But yeah, I think it should be an interesting car overall.
Right, and it's the size of a Kodiaq, of course. 340 kilometer range is for the base variant, which is the IV50.
Exactly.
Interestingly, now when we spoke to Mercedes during the EQC drive and even internationally when the concept was revealed and then the car was revealed, they're saying that, okay, we may not have an AMG variant of this, but Skoda has actually said that there could be an RS variant that will be added to this lineup, and that's really exciting because having experienced these EVs firsthand, both of us know how exciting it can be having all that talk, right from the word go. So having an
Absolutely.
RS badge, I'm sure they will be able to.
If the EQC, I mean, was doing just a little over 5 seconds to get to 100 kilometers an hour, I can only
Yeah.
imagine what an RS version of the ENIAC would possibly do. How quick is it going to be? 3 seconds? Under 3 seconds?
Exactly. I mean,
It just blows your mind to think of just what kind of performance are these electrics capable of. And the only thing I think that is missing, and most manufacturers should now do, is put in a false soundtrack and through the speakers, play it out through the speakers, just so that you get that icy engine feel in the car at the end of the day. I think that's the only piece of the puzzle missing. But otherwise, it's astonishing. Even in the EQC, it's got a two-step electric motor coming in once. I mean, for efficiency, you got the front electric motor working at all times, and then when you want the power, just step on the throttle pedal, and the second motor kicks in, and that shove that you get, that torque coming in,
exactly.
pushes you back into your seats. It's incredible. And I can only imagine what sportier versions. I have driven a sportier version of an EV years ago, and that was just that was amazing. I mean, that kind of left me breathless. Indelible mark in my mind about what an EV in the sports range, that kind of performance is capable of. So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to the RS version as well.
Right. So, Bert, maybe what you could do is now quickly see if we have any more questions that we could answer. By then, I'll just quickly, skim through the motorcycle news because we don't have a lot of motorcycle news. As is becoming a theme, you either have a Honda or a Kawasaki making a BS6 announcement, and this week it's Kawasaki's turn. We have the Vulcan S now available in the BS6 avatar. So if you're waiting to get yourself the Vulcan, the only cruiser available from Kawasaki in India, now is the time to go to your nearest Kawasaki dealership. It is available for 5.79 lakh ex-showroom. It continues to be powered by the same 649cc parallel twin motor, now available in the BS6 compliant guise, of course. Puts out 61 PS of power and 62.4 Newton meters of torque. Like I said, it is now being rolled out to all dealerships. So if you have been waiting for the Vulcan S in its BS6 avatar, now is the time to give the dealership a call. Similarly, from the more premium end of the spectrum, we have the BS6 Ducati Panigale V2, which is now available in the Indian market. I remember on the digital show, a few of you asked us about when the motorcycle is going to be available, and we had told you it's going to be available between August to September, and that's exactly what has happened. It is now available at a price of 16.99 lakh rupees in a BS6 guise, of course, and of course in a Euro 5 guise as well. So essentially the engine has been tuned for Euro 5, which is more in tune with the BS6 norms. And we've typically seen these emission norms drop the power on most engines, but to make sure that the performance remains unaffected, the power has gone up by 5 PS, the torque has gone up by 2 Newton meters for a total output of 155 PS and 104 Newton meters. And Ducati also says that most of this torque, or 60% of this torque, is available at around the 5 to 5,500 range. So you shouldn't really feel any dearth in performance at all. Not like you ever did on this motorcycle. It's a beautiful racing motorcycle. And if you still love super sports in this era, when everyone's going for adventure motorcycles, this is one of the best middleweight super sports to get your hands on right now. So that sort of wraps up all the motorcycle news, or all the news that we have. Now let's go back to Bert and let's see if he's found any questions that we should now answer on the show as promised.
Hi Rohit. Well, yeah, there are quite a few questions. As soon as these visuals of get done, and, it makes me yearn to get back on a motorcycle and get back to riding again. I'm just hoping and waiting for my knee to get sorted out and come back to 100% so I can start riding motorcycles again. Nihar Agarwal has a question: why luxury manufacturers are shifting from 8 to 9 airbags to 6 to 7 airbags. My BMW 5 Series 2015 has 8 airbags. The 2017 G30 has just 6. Not just the case of BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Audis, and others too. Well, Nihar, not really. Not manufacturers aren't necessarily moving. It's a market dependency thing as well. Most of the luxury manufacturers are offering as much as is required for that matter, and these are all strategically placed around the car depending on what kind of safety features they would have additionally. So it's not that they're just dropping down the number of airbags, but they are also increasing or rather adding airbags in places that we never thought about, and that could have far more, implications, safety implications than we thought possible before. Case in point, now the new S-Class has come in, and that's got even the rear seat the airbags for the rear passengers, the forward airbags for that matter. So and the knee bags. So yeah, there are some certain revisions coming in. We will see a lot of manufacturers offering a full range of safety equipment nonetheless in the future. We also got a question from Puzzle Pramod. What's your opinion about the future of EV vehicle in rural Indian market and also the urban market? Pramod, the future is definitely bright for EVs considering government policies are fairly pro-electric vehicles at this point in time. There is a big push for manufacturers to offer electric vehicles in India, but more than just offering or rather bringing CBUs in, which is the route that most manufacturers are employing at this point in time. The government is also encouraging manufacturers to manufacture EVs in India, to start battery production, to start electric motor production, to build EVs and develop EVs right here in India. And we are seeing quite a few manufacturers, both Mahindra and Tata Motors are two of the leading players in this space. And, Tata Motors, of course, recently bagged those orders. We just saw it in the news. But apart from that, there are other plans as well for EVs coming down from Tata Motors as well. So there is a lot happening. Now, what is the future of it in the rural market? It will take some time. Adoption is going to take some time. That's also because the price of EVs is fairly high at this point in time. So for rural markets, it will take some time before EVs can penetrate into those segments, in that tier. Again, infrastructure also is a requirement, is a huge requirement over here. And not everybody can afford the infrastructure at this point in time. Keep in mind, the super fast charging that happens is a very expensive proposition. The last time I had a conversation with Hyundai about this was when the Kona launch was happening, and prices for that, for putting up a super fast charger, can go almost all the way up to about 25 lakh rupees. So that's expensive. Even the wall box units at this point in time, they're quite expensive. But once this infrastructure is sorted out, there are several players in the country who are working towards this. Tata Power, for instance, is already working on opening charging stations across the country in various places. There are various other players as well who are coming out with options. And once that happens, I think rural market penetration will be very high. Urban areas, nonetheless, are of course the breeding ground for EVs at this point in time. That is where EVs will take precedence, which has always been the case. It's like, just to put it in perspective, I mean, it's your, it's always your family that lives in the city that picks up the trends, that starts off the trends and then passes on to the family that lives, back at home in your hometowns. So that way, technology will pass from the urban areas to semi-urban and rural areas as well. And it's only a matter of time before rural area adoption happens for EVs.
Right, and I think one more perspective on this topic would be, I believe that the adoption of electric two-wheelers is going to be, higher in the rural areas, and even the entry-level electric vehicles, I believe that the adoption is going to be higher. When I say entry-level, I'm not talking about the range that's currently available, which starts off with the Nexon. I'm talking about the kind of cars that maybe Maruti or Hyundai are looking to introduce in the smaller space. Because typically in rural areas, tier 2, tier 3 cities, you're not really looking at that bigger range requirement. The range requirement is going to be smaller, and that is where these electric vehicles, electric rickshaws even, electric public transport, all of that will make a lot of sense there, and the adoption levels could be higher. The other thing that we complain about when we talk about infrastructure is the lack of charging options at the place of parking the vehicle or where you're staying. Because typically in urban areas, you have more people staying in apartments or societies where, the implementation of charging stations or charging solutions for your personal vehicle may not be as easy to do or as easy to integrate. And that is where, again, in the rural areas where we see that, you have more homes than apartments. more privately owned premises where it would be easier to sort of install these charging stations or charging solutions. And like I said, with electric two-wheelers, with swappable batteries, again, it makes a lot of sense. So where the range requirement is not as much, I think there we will see a lot of this adoption happening. But yeah, it will take time. But once it does, I believe that the rural India will also play a very important role in the adoption of EVs and the widespread network that they can actually create, for EVs going forward.
Achyut Balaji has got a question also for us. Rohit, is Kodiak coming back to India? He's been asking this quite some time now.
Yes, in
Uh,
fact, in fact, it is. In fact, it is. We saw it at the Auto Expo as well, and very recently, to confirm what we saw, we even saw a few of these test mules of the new Kodiak, on the street. So it will definitely come back. It will come back now in a petrol-only avatar. The powertrain will be very similar to what we've seen with the Volkswagen Tiguan Allspace. Now, from what we hear, very frankly, this delay in the Kodiak is a planned one by the Skoda and the Volkswagen, companies in India under a part of the India 2.0 strategy. It is essentially been done to sort of give the Tiguan Allspace a bit of breathing time and to give it a sort of kickstart with no Kodiak available as an option. That becomes your only option available if you're looking for that kind of a vehicle. If you're looking for something that's not as hardcore as maybe the Endeavor or the Fortuner, you want something that's more of a luxurious soft-roader in that particular price bracket. Right now, the Tiguan Allspace seems to be your only viable option, and it's planned that way. They are giving it that breathing space so that it gets some numbers for itself, and then the Kodiak will be introduced as the other alternative.
We've got another question coming in from Rajesh Khare. I'm told the EV cars would be sold without the battery to reduce cost of the vehicle. Is this true? Yes, Rajesh, that is true. The government of India has notified or rather at least advised manufacturers to start offering their products without the battery. So that doesn't mean that you will not have propulsion power. You will definitely have to put in a battery, but that you would probably have options available in this case where you could purchase the battery from several players depending on the costs of it, range as well. So right now, most manufacturers are offering you with the fixed range or a fixed battery in it, which you cannot replace, and it's got a fixed range because of that. But going ahead in the future, you will probably have those options available as well. Now, it's not easy to implement this in cars and four-wheelers, but definitely two-wheelers, this option will come up very, very strongly, and manufacturers will then offer removable batteries. They're anyways offering the removable batteries, but they will offer you a choice of batteries saying, do you want, a 10 kilowatt per hour, you want 20 kilowatt hour, you want 30, 50, how, that will depend on what your requirement is and how much you're willing to pay for it.
Right. In fact, Bert, this reminds me of, almost a decade ago, or maybe even more than that, where there were certain car makers who were essentially advertising their vehicles. The cost that was being advertised was advertised without including the mirrors, the wipers, some of these peripherals. Of course, you can't have a car without all of these, but these were not included in the cost. These were added by the dealer later in your final cost price, but the ex-showroom value was indeed without all of these peripherals, and that sort of made the ex-showroom value a lot lesser than the competition, and that sort of increased footfall into the showroom. So I expect something similar to be played with this rule as well, where the advertised cost versus the actual cost that you will end up paying with all the batteries in place, and all of that will obviously be a lot different, but it will sort of tempt you to visit the showroom and check out the vehicle at least. And I think that is what a lot of manufacturers of small EVs, or like Bert said, of scooters, two-wheelers with swappable batteries or removable batteries, I'm sure they're going to capitalize on that and sort of have your tempting price tag to bring you to the showroom.
Okay, I'll take one more last question, Rohit, and before we head out to the next story, and Pramod's got another valid question. And this is pertinent because this is something right up our alley. Sir, what is the opinion about connected cars and also the customers' adoption towards it? And Pramod, let me tell you, we've got a very interesting story coming up for you very shortly on connected cars or other connected technology, the level of connected technology that's available in the cars, who's offering what, and what does it essentially mean to consumers. So do stay tuned to Overdrive. Subscribe to Overdrive's YouTube channel. Subscribe to, get onto the website, and also, of course, subscribe to the magazine, the digital or the print version for that matter. And we'll be answering your questions very soon. So just stay tuned. We will have information for you coming on connected cars very shortly. I think,
Right,
Rohit, we
I think
can.
Bert, Yeah, we can move on to the next one. In fact, the next one is right up your alley because it's the RSQ8, the car that I did not drive, Bert or
But I
Simran.
did for a very,
Yes,
very
you
short.
did, which is exactly why I said it's right up your alley. So I don't know anything about the car. I have watched the review though, and I'm going to watch it once more right now with all of you. But before we head into that review, what were your thoughts about the car? Because I believe it was last Friday when you drove it, right after the digital show, you got your hands on that RSQ8. I remember you telling us about it that there's some exciting car that you're going to be driving, and that happened to be the RSQ8. Tell us a quick
It was
brief on what your experience was.
Rohit, it wasn't last Friday actually. Last Friday, if you remember correctly, we were driving some
Oh
other very.
yes, yes. How can I
Back to that.
forget?
Well, that's another story
Yes.
that's coming up on Overdrive. Again, keep in mind, September is our anniversary month. We started off 22 years ago. We started off Overdrive, and it's been a fantastic journey. And there've been some exciting stories that we've been up and about, trying to get for you. But yeah, just a few days before we set off last weekend, we didn't have the show. Of course, we just come back again this weekend. But I'd driven the RSQ8. Astonishing car, I must say. It is such an astonishing SUV. It completely blows your mind away. It's amazing to kind of see what an SUV of that order is capable of delivering. Uh, it would actually cheapen it to say it, but yes, this is a more affordable Lamborghini Urus with in Audi clothing. But that essentially is what it is. The Urus, of course, has got a little bit more to offer to its consumers, but the RSQ8 is mind blowing. I mean, don't just take my word for it. See Simran's story. You can go down to Overdrive on the website. The story is already out there. We had this exclusive drive of it just before the launch on the 27th, if I believe that was right. That's right. And it was amazing to see what that car is capable of. It's fast. It's ferocious. It's everything you want a super sport SUV to be. And it just delivers in spades. Let me not talk too much more. Just watch that video.
In fact, let's do this. Let's not ask our viewers to go to the YouTube channel. Let's play it for them right here,
Right
and
there.
leave them with the sights and the sounds of the RSQ8. So here you go.
Absolutely.
Here's the entire review of the RSQ8.
What does it mean really to be the fastest car at a track like the Nürburgring? Does it prove anything other than it's been set up well for a racetrack? Or is it just another metric of performance to be boasted about? For the Audi RSQ8, it may be the most telling metric, however, that a 2.3-ton SUV lapped the challenging near 21-kilometer long Nordschleife track in just 7 minutes and 42 seconds. That makes it a whole 5 seconds quicker than its more flamboyant and lighter cousin, the Lamborghini Urus, and a mere 10 seconds behind the previous Audi flagship, the R8 V10 Plus Supercar. You may be asking yourself what the point of an SUV like the Audi RSQ8 is. It's big, it's fast, but if you want to go fast, do you necessarily want big? Well, the world seems to be in love with SUVs, and it makes perfect sense. Put one of the best engines that the Volkswagen Group has, that Audi has. For starters, having an achievement like the quickest SUV lap time at the Nürburgring does help its flagship status, and for a petrol head at least, makes it oh so desirable. And it doesn't hurt that the RSQ8 looks the part of a record slayer, squatting low on its massive 23-inch wheels, a first for any Audi ever. It's less conspicuous in Navarro blue than the shouty Java green the RSQ8 debuted in, and that may be both its greatest strength and its greatest weakness against more showy super SUVs. Though it's got plenty of sharp styling touches, from the Matrix LED light show all around to the wide gaping grille and stout haunches and dropping roofline. Touches that are sharp enough to cut yourself on, as I found out while giving it a wipe down on the edge of the very badge announcing itself. There's no missing the wide oval pipe exits either, an Audi RS hallmark with quad exhaust behind them. If nothing else, you have the low frequency grumble from the V8 to help arrest attention, just like a flagship should. It's on a rainy day like today that you truly appreciate a super SUV for its ground clearance and the all-wheel drive. Of course, there's so much
bar in the RSQ8, it really puts the super in the super SUV, which was in fact a tag that Lamborghini created for the Urus. As you probably know, the Lamborghini Urus and the Audi RSQ8 are very, very close cousins. They share basically everything under the skin. And that includes the 4-litre bi-turbo V8. It's a masterpiece of an engine. In the RSQ8, it's got 600 PS and 800 Newton meters of torque, and all that power is put down through a pretty excellent 8-speed torque converter. No matter what the conditions are though, there's nothing that's going to keep you from pressing down on the throttle pedal and hearing that engine roar. Man, it builds speed quickly. The RSQ8 with its 48-volt mild hybrid architecture and cylinder deactivation also surprises when you're driving it sanely. We got 6.7 kmpl in the city in our test and 9.7 kmpl out on the highway. We can really feel that battery system helping you coast for distances as long as a kilometer or so. What's truly amazing about this engine is in how quickly it builds revs. Now, we've experienced it in previous RS cars, and every time I drive a car with this engine, I just can't believe how quickly it builds revs. In the RSQ8, it's no different, and when you put it in the RS drive mode, you get extra violent shifts that really throw your head back with every shift. It just makes it feel a lot more dramatic. When you want it to be nice and discreet and stealth, RSQ8 can do that for you. Similarities to the Lamborghini Urus don't end in just the powertrain. Like we said, it shares a lot with the Urus under the skin. It's essentially sitting on very similar suspension setups, and that's a great thing for the Audi. That setup includes air suspension at all 4 corners with active anti-roll bars that slacken or stiffen as the situation demands, likely a huge factor in giving the RSQ8 its pliant ride quality over bad roads, and then its flat cornering prowess in the corners. You're likely to really raise your eyebrows at the way the RSQ8 goes over speed breakers and even glides over potholes. Just given how massive those wheels are, some of the smaller ones don't even register. Of course, given the low profile rubber, I would be very about sharp edged potholes and take it easy nonetheless. With the car set in comfort mode, it's actually got a pretty decent pliancy to the way it deals with bad roads. And that
well then, Bert, I think that's about it. I think we have...
Of course, when you see a set of corners coming up, it's great that you have the RS mode button right on the steering wheel, since dealing with that is a little time consuming and you need to take your eyes off the road. Once you put it in RS mode, you feel the car just tense up, become a little more alert. And then you realize that it's a lot sharper once you get into the corners. And of course, you've got that soundtrack that just turns up the volume. Speaking of the brakes, they're large, they're huge. They're some of the largest discs that Audi's ever fitted to any of their production cars. For the record, they're 440mm up front and 370mm at the rear. And these, of course, are the optional carbon ceramic brakes. And the stopping power is phenomenal. In our tests, we got a sub 40 meter stopping distance in the wet when braking from 100 kmph, which is not something that we see very often, and definitely not in an SUV. Audi has also given the RSQ8 a flagship cabin, and it needs to. In line with the rest of the Audi lineup, you have very minimalistic Teutonic interiors with lots of gloss black surfaces, lots of aluminium trim, carbon fiber panels, and a lot of Alcantara. The best part, however, are these RS Sport seats, which aren't just ventilated and heated. They also have a massage function. And the best part is when you brake really heavy, the bolsters actually hold you in place really snugly. So when you're driving fast and you feel the seats gripping you, it just gives you the confidence to push a little further. Another thing that really works in the favor of pushing this car more and more is the fact that the RS has a RS specific sport display which shows you the temperature of everything from the engine to the sport differential in the back, which helps you keep track of just how hard you're pushing it. Like we found when we drove the regular Q8, looks can be completely deceiving. That sloping coupe-like roofline does not affect space in the back of the car at all. In fact, Audi's thrown in a few things to make it just a little more comfortable. Having a reclining backrest with so much knee room and leg room down here makes a huge difference, and well, headroom isn't bad either.
Coming back to that practicality we were talking of, the boot is large and square, though we do wish the powered tailgate function extended to closing it from within the car, especially on a rainy day. Ultimately, while it's sad to see supercars from mainstream manufacturers go electric like the R8 is set to, it is heartening to see such capability and genuinely exciting performance come from Audi. The biggest chink in most RS cars' armors have been an artificial feeling steering so far, and the precise steering in the RSQ8 largely fixes that. For the price, the RSQ8 gets you exactly what's expected from a flagship and more. And that's not just from Audi, but from anybody, including more exotic brands.
Well, guys, that was a fantastic story, and really amazing to see what the RSQ8 is capable of. Well priced, and one of the best SUVs, at least sport SUVs that you can get in the country today, without a doubt. I've driven it. Simran's enjoyed it thoroughly for 2 days. He's been there with that, and let me tell you, there's a very interesting fact about the RSQ8. We drove it over 2 days, of course, a whole day of testing and photography happening on that car. And during the tests, Simran kept trying to, get it to do its numbers. And conditions were extremely wet, as you've seen that video. There was a lot of rain in Bombay and all of the surrounding neighboring parts of Bombay. Heavy rains, and yet on our tests, the RSQ8 did just about 4 seconds, which is 0.2 seconds slower than Audi's claim time of 3.8 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour. That is just incredible. No car has ever been able to achieve those kind of numbers, especially on a wet, rainy day in wet conditions. And that's all down to the sport differential that it's got, which we discovered over the course of a test that it takes some time to warm up. But once it's fully warmed up, the performance is astounding. So there you have it. That was the RSQ8. Thank you guys for watching Overdrive, the digital show this weekend. This will be coming back to you again next Friday. We do appreciate you watching us. Please subscribe to the OD Mag channel on YouTube, to our Facebook, Twitter, and Insta handles as well for updates from the automotive industry. And do keep reading all about the world of automobiles on www.overdrive.in. I'd also request you to definitely pick up the magazine because there are some fantastic stories. The September issue will be out. Digital versions as well as print issues are out, and you can get them from the Overdrive website itself. So do go there, register yourselves, and pick up an issue. We've got the anniversary issue coming up, and there's some very dynamic stories in there, something that will interest everybody. Get your pulse racing. So thank you, and thank you for watching, guys. See you.